development coach and thought leader who works with high achieving individuals to conquer their inner critic, clarify their life vision, and elevate their mindset so they can show up more powerfully as a leader, partner, and parent each day. I like that, a parent, that's for certain. She mentors with deep compassion, guiding her clients to reconnect with their personal power and purpose so that they can transform their career, family, and quality of life. Jaquelynn is a 20-year corporate veteran turned joy and purpose advocate who understands both the challenge of climbing the corporate ladder and fear of taking the leap of faith to pursue your passion. As a survivor of a dysfunctional upbringing, corporate layoffs, financial ruins, and failing marriage, she's here to empower more people to live passionately, purposefully, and impactfully without compromising their joys, talents, and authenticity. I love it. So without further ado, we're going to give the floor to Jaquelynn. Just very quickly, save your questions. You can raise your hand or put them in the message. And at the end with the Q&A, Jaquelynn will address those. Unless you would like an interactive Q&A, Jaquelynn, you let us know. But we'll give you the floor.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Marcus. And thank you to both you and Jane for inviting me here, especially a big shout out to Bill Cox, actually. He's the one that connected us to make this all happen. So I'm really, really excited to be here with everyone tonight. Let me just first make sure that I can share my screen real quick. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, well, hi everyone. As Marcus mentioned, I'm Jaquelynn Peterson, and I'm incredibly excited to be here with all of you tonight. But first, I just want to honor and acknowledge all of you for being here tonight. Because I don't know about you, but after a long day of work, there's a myriad of reasons to just want to veg out on the couch with the TV or your beverage of choice, right? But you all hold yourself here tonight to show camaraderie for one another and expand your awareness and perception so that you can show up as a greater contributor and leader and teammate for at your workplace and in your life. So thank you first and foremost, because now more than ever, right? Our world needs that kind of leadership and inspiration. So thank you all for being here. Now, like I said, I know all of you have had a long day at work, and so I'm going to try to make this presentation fun, engaging, and interactive. Okay, so what I want you to do, if you guys are okay, is mute your phone, but leave yourself unmuted, because I'm going to be calling out to you throughout the presentation for feedback and responses, because I want to make this just like a little casual get together, right? Casual and interactive and fun for everybody. Okay? So how does that sound for everyone?
Perfect.
All right, so let's get ready and get this party bus rolling then. So first, just a really quick synopsis about me, just so that you know who you'll be partying with for the next 45 minutes or so, right? So for those who don't know me, I'm Jaquelynn Peterson, or as Bill lovingly calls me from time to time, Sunshine, because I'm always smiling and bubbly. I'm as Marcus shared earlier in the intro, I'm a 20-year corporate veteran turned joy and purpose advocate. So I know both the joys of climbing the corporate ladder and entrepreneurship, if you're in either one of those scenarios. I've studied personal growth for almost 18 years, and I'm absolutely fascinated with neuroscience, metaphysics, human behavioral psychology, and wisdom teachings. I'm a certified David Bayer transformational mindset facilitator, meaning that I love helping people master the mental game so they can live an extraordinary life. And my superpower is finding the silver lining in every situation. As you just asked Bill, he often finds it quite annoying, to be honest, and he gives me a hard time about that all the time. And lastly, I specialize in helping high achieving individuals demystify their purpose in life and master the mental game so they can show up as powerful leaders, parents, and partners without compromising their health, their marriage, or their peace of mind. So here's what we're going to cover in the next 45 minutes or so. We're going to talk about the top 3 reasons for resisting change. And I'm going to share with you a vital skill for success and happiness that's not taught at any accredited institution and supersedes your degree or any other expertise. And I'll also show you how you can have more time for the things you enjoy and consistently produce extraordinary results without needing to clone yourself. And lastly, I'm going to share with you a hidden superpower you have that will make you invincible and indispensable, regardless of what changes are going on in your life or workplace. Okay? First, let me start by asking you all this question. How do you really feel about change? You love it? You like it? It's kind of frustrating.
Always nervous about it.
Nervous? Yes.
For the unknown.
Yes.
Love, hate.
Love, hate, yes.
Exactly, love, hate, exactly.
Right. And so sometimes when it comes to change, we kind of like all tend to feel like this to some degree, right? You know, because why? Why is that? It's because sometimes change can be really confusing if not implemented effectively, right? Or frustrating and downright draining, right? And just like, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? Is this just never ending, right? And then you often find yourself, your typical day is like you're spending your day playing interference and making sure that people are playing nicely with each other, right? Or you're navigating the political tug of war of your work, right? Or perhaps you're racking your brain trying to figure out how to get your team to embrace the change that, the mandated change has been passed down. And sometimes it's like pulling teeth, right? Does this sound familiar to anyone so far? All of this? Yeah. And to ensure that changes are implemented across the organization to keep up with market demands and competition, most organizations resort to 2 traditional methods for encouraging the adoption of change. The first is through positive reinforcement via awards and recognition or bonuses or promotions for those who are really embracing the change or driving the change and really helping to implement it and carrying it forward through the organization, right? Or it also, from a negative reinforcement for those who might be resisting change a little bit or having a hard time kind of just getting on board and playing catch up, it gets reflected in their performance review, or they might even get a PIP, right? Or their compensation is stagnant and they don't see any increase in their merit from year over year. Worst case scenario, they might even get demoted or laid off. Okay? So these 2 traditional methods work to some degree, but they don't address organizational culture, such as building a workforce of engaged, thriving, and innovative talents, and especially retaining top talents and minimizing attrition. Okay? And why is that? And it's because most organizations overlook one component that's at the heart of their employees' performance and well-being, and that's their emotions. Because there are 3 fundamental fears we all have for resisting change. The first is the fear of failure, right? This thought of, if I fail, what would that mean about my contribution, my sense of worth, and my job security? right? And who am I if I'm not top of my game or have the expertise that I have right now? And worse yet is this idea that if I fail, I'll let my family or my team or etc. down, right? Ultimately, this fear of being less than who we are in the eyes of others. Or second, it's the fear of losing it all, right? This thought around, gosh, I've worked so hard to get this far. And if I lose it all, like what would happen to my family and I? Like, how would we survive? And worse yet, what if I don't have the time or what it takes to rebuild, to start over and rebuild everything and get back to where I am now, right? And lastly, I think it was Marcus that might have called out earlier, it's the fear of the unknown, right? It's this idea of not knowing what's out there and operating outside of our comfort zone. And what if it doesn't work out the way that we expect it to or want it to, right? And worst of all, it's this fear of what if I end up worse than where I am right now, right? So until the psychology behind these three fundamental fears are addressed, there will always be a divided workforce where resistance, resentment, and self-sabotage creates this constant stress, tension, and overwhelm in the workplace. But these fears can actually be dissolved, and you can actually embrace change and thrive through them by understanding these three principles that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. And the first is the most effective way to dissolve your fear of failure and thrive through any change is by developing this vital skill that supersedes your degree or any other expertise. And so before I share with you what that skill is, I'm going to end my presentation really quick and do an exercise together, okay? So I'm going to ask a series. I want you to think about your partner, right, or significant other, whether it's currently or in the past. Okay, and I'm going to ask you two questions, and I want you to, when I ask you those questions, I want you to just kind of blurt out what's top of mind, what's on the tip of your tongue, top of mind. Right? There's no right or wrong, no judgment here. Just say what comes to your mind. Right? You're going to have 60 seconds to blurt out the answers of what comes to mind for each of those questions. And Marcus is going to help me time us and keep us honest here, right? And I'm going to type all the responses, and then afterwards I'm going to reshare my screen so that we can see what everyone's responses has been. Okay, so everyone clear on this? All right, and then Marcus, as soon as I finish asking the question, you can go ahead and start the timer, and then when the 60 seconds is up, you can just yell stop, and then we'll move on to the second question. Okay, so before I get into what that vital skill is, we're going to do this exercise and kind of illustrate a point here, and you'll see how all of this ties in a couple minutes. Okay, ready? Everyone ready? All right, so here we go. The first question is, what do you like in a partner or about your partner? Right, so just everyone feel free to chime in, and Marcus, you too, right? You can participate too. What do you like in your partner or about your partner?
Unconditional support.
Yeah, support.
Patience.
What was that? Unconditional support. What was after that?
Patience.
Patience.
Yeah, support and patience, caring, understanding.
Caring and understanding. Okay, what else?
Easy to talk to.
Easy to talk to. Beautiful. What else? Don't be shy now. We're all going to have fun. We'll just have fun with this. Anything else?
Uniquely himself.
Uniquely himself. Okay. Anything else?
As my grandfather says, someone that's good to be in a foxhole with.
Yeah.
Well, what was that?
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
I don't know how to better explain that, but just someone that's good to be in the foxhole with. My grandfather used to say all the time when you find somebody.
Someone that's in the foxhole with you all the time?
A great companion.
A companion. Got it.
That was it for the 60 seconds.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Marcus. Okay. Thanks for keeping us honest there. Second question is, what don't you like in your partner or about your partner? All right, just feel free. Like I said, no right or wrong. I promise we won't be sharing this with your partner. So this is just for fun.
Snores.
Don't be shy. What was that?
Snores.
Snores. Okay. What else?
Fiscal responsibility.
Physical responsibility.
Fiscal.
Fiscal.
Money responsibility.
Got it.
Financial.
Okay.
Lack of emotion.
Lack of emotion.
Complete
Right.
honesty.
So lack of complete honesty.
No, complete honesty.
Oh, honesty.
Good or bad.
Okay.
Impatient.
Okay. Impatient.
Needing,
What was that?
needy.
Needy. Yeah. What else?
And then that's 0.
Okay.
So that's 60 seconds.
Okay. So let me go ahead and share my screen again, and I'll share with you what we've got. Now I've got to say, you guys are really, either you guys are shy or not. But anyways, here, I'll show you the results. So what you do like in your partner, right? So you've got 2, 4, 6 answers, right, up here. And then what you don't like in your partner is, again, also 6 answers here. So you guys are actually really good, because most of the time when I do this exercise, the list of the what they don't like in their partner is like so extensive. And not only that it's extensive, but it's also very detailed, and just a lot, they go into a lot more details about that. So either you guys are really shy, or you guys really love your partners, and man, your partner is really, really great to have a partner like you. So really the point of this exercise is what I'm trying to illustrate in most cases, and you guys probably are the rare exception here, in most cases is often we are very clear and descriptive on the things that we don't want, right? Because we really struggle when people ask us, like, what do we want, right? We immediately go to and describe the things that we don't want. And not only that, but we go into really, really graphic details and go into like a long laundry list of the things that we don't want, right? But when we ask, like, what is it that we do want, we kind of struggle with that question. Okay? Does everybody kind of agree with that? I mean, I know personally, I've struggled with that question for, gosh, a majority of my adult life, actually, to really know, like, what is it that I do want? And in my poor husband, during our early years when we're together, I mean, that was one of like the biggest kind of argument that gets us into arguments every time is just really like not knowing what I want. And so because we're not very clear on what we want and why we want things, and that's where the fear of failure usually kicks in, because we don't have really a clear vision for why we're doing what we're doing and what we want to guide us forward each day. Okay? And this is because our brain is wired for survival, not thriving. Okay? And so we have to consciously train our brain to thrive by being crystal clear on what we want and why we want it. Okay? And when we do that, we'll begin to understand that every current experience, every experience in our current and present moment is a stepping stone towards the next evolution of our success and happiness. Okay? And that really, there's really no such thing as failure, right? Just as Oprah said, there's no such thing as failure. Failure is just life trying to move us in a different direction. Okay? Or another one I really love is Jenny by Jenny Fleiss is embrace failure, because missteps and roadblocks are going to be inevitable, but are ultimately an opportunity to learn, pivot, and go after your goals with new perspective. Right? Really beautifully said. But you first have to get really clear on what those goals are. So for instance, like, why are you here in this position with this particular organization? What was it about this organization that intrigued you and made you stay after all this time? And what is the value or impact that you want to be making here? What are your career aspirations and personal development goals? Like, do you want to be an individual contributor, or do you want to advance in your career and manage a team? And what skills do you want to acquire? What income level do you want to be having? Right? What's your ideal work schedule? And what does your ideal lifestyle look like? Right? And what kind of lifestyle would actually bring you joy each day? And who do you want to become in life and as a career professional? And in what ways can your organization support that? And last is, and do you even have a clear understanding or idea of what your organization's vision is and how it ties back to your own personal vision, right? If there's any correlation that you can tie back between the two for you to show up to work each day. Because when you have this level of clarity about your career and your life, the fear of failure kind of dissipates and it doesn't have such a strong hold on you anymore, because now you've got drive and purpose that'll guide you forward each day. And then your vision then starts to help you become laser focused on solutions rather than problems, right? And this is a vital skill and muscle to develop and maintain, because it'll allow you to tap into a reservoir of resources and opportunities beyond what your degree or any level of other level of expertise can access. And here's why. Because your brain is ultimately a goal-achieving machine. And it cannot tell the difference between imagination and real life. So when you visualize the details of what you want, how it looks like, what it's going to feel like, you're essentially building new neural pathways in your brain. And there's a part of your brain called a reticular activating system that filters sensory information from your external world to match your beliefs. So the images that you create when you clarify the vision for what you want in life and your career essentially becomes the coding instructions for your reticular activating system to then start filtering experiences and information in your life to align with those images. Like the ideas, resources, and opportunities that will help you effectively navigate the changes in your workplace or life will kind of flow to you, right? Start flowing to you almost effortlessly. And you'll start to see solutions where there were once obstacles, right? Those solutions will start to open up for you. And then little by little, you're guided towards the vision of what you want. And now that the cool thing about what happens with this is that when you focus more on what you want, more of those experiences will perpetuate in your life. Because wherever you focus, wherever your focus goes, your energy flows, right? So going back to our exercise earlier, about your partner, right? Imagine if you focus more on what you like and appreciate about your partner. How different would your relationship be? Like how much better it would even be, right? And I actually say that with great authority because my husband lovingly reminds me to do that exercise often because he loves it when I do that. And that's actually how we're still together today, that through that exercise. But so going back to how do you keep your inspirations and energy continuing to flow to you so you're consistently guided towards your vision? And that brings us to the second thriving key, which is you can produce extraordinary outcomes even in a changing environment without any stress, overwhelm, or fear of losing it all with a simple shift in how you operate. Right? And that shift is entirely tied back to your emotions. Because your emotions is an indicator of whether or not you are operating in alignment with what you want and the true nature of reality. And when you're in alignment, inspirations and energy will continue to flow to you and guide you kind of almost effortlessly through any situation. But to be in alignment, you first have to understand that we all operate from two states of being. Right? We're either operating in a primal state of being or a powerful state of being. In a primal state of being, these are states where, states of emotions where you don't feel good and it drains you, such as stress, anxiety, overwhelm, anger, frustration, boredom, avoidance, and all of that. And when you're in this state, it drains you of your energy and focus, and then you operate reactively rather than consciously responding to the experiences in your life. And this is where your ego and your inner critic takes over to cloud your sense of judgment and your perception in life, right? And so you're easily irritated, you get defensive, you're judgmental, you don't appreciate others' contribution or values, right? You feel like you're all alone and nobody gets you. And sometimes that it seems like there's one problem after another that you're constantly having to address and fires to put out. And your life just seems to be like one never ending big to-do list. Okay. The powerful state of being, on the other hand, are states of emotions that feel great and energize you, such as joy, compassion, excitement, curiosity, right? Peace, love, all of that. And in this state, you have access to creativity, inspiration, intuition, resource, clarity, deep insights, connection, and presence to produce extraordinary outcomes with seemingly very little time or effort because you're in the zone, right? And that's where the term time flies when you're having fun comes into play, right? Where that comes from, because just time just kind of escapes you because you're just in the zone and you're just so connected. And you're not worried about losing it all because you're connected to universal empowering truths. Truths such as, like, you live in a friendly universe, that life is always working out for your greatest joy, growth, and expansion. That abundance actually flows through you and around you at all times. And that you can never fail because life is always supporting you, guiding you, and redirecting you to live your best life. And that when you let go of your resistance, the flow of life can guide you to where you need to be next. So there's this knowingness and trust that you're always going to be okay and that you'll never lose it all. So the second key to thriving through changes is to get yourself to operate consistently in a powerful state of being as best you can. Right? So let's put all this into practice so you can start to see the power of this shift. Okay, so how many of you here feel like you don't have enough time in the day to accomplish the things that you need to get done at work or at home? Right? You feel like there's never enough time. Right? That's usually all of us. Right? We feel that to some degree or another. So now I want you to be honest and share with me and just blurt out, right? In the group. On average, how much time do you spend in some form of stress, overwhelm, anxiety, fear, doubt, or frustration each day? There's no right or wrong answer. Like, what would you guess on average? How much time would you spend in some form of this?
At least a quarter of my day.
A quarter of your day? So what a quarter of your 8-hour workday, or you're talking about your whole week?
Yeah, of the work day. Try not
Okay.
to bring it home.
Okay.
So on average, I'd say about 15 minutes to a half an hour max. That's average. That's not every day, but an average.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else?
I'd say half my day.
Half of your day? Yeah. Yeah, so it ranges, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me share with you some really kind of really cool facts here. And just kind of to drive this point home. So let's say that you spend like on a conservative and like 2 hours a day, like on average, right? 2 hours a day in some form of primal state, right? Stress, overwhelm, anxiety, and all of that. So that equates to 730 hours a year, which equates to 30 days out of the year, right? And that's on the conservative end. If you spend 4 hours a day, right? I heard someone said it's half of their day, right? If they just spend 4 hours a day, that equates to a little over 2 months out of the year, okay? And 6 hours a day, that equates to a little over 3 months out of the year that you're spending in some form of suffering and primal state. Okay? So the point here is that it's not that we don't have enough time. The problem is that we're spending time, the time that we have in a primal state that doesn't serve us and progresses towards what we want and where we want to be, right? So imagine if you can what you can accomplish in your career or personal life if you can get back 1 or more months a year. Like how different would your life be, right? So just imagine that, right? And so that's kind of like everyone with me so far, right? It's kind of mind-blowing when you kind of look at it from this perspective, right? And just really seeing and just the awareness of when you're in a primal state and what that equates to and what you could do with your life and how your life could change in your career or personal life if you're able to move yourself back into and operate consistently more in a powerful state of being. Okay? So the question then is, how do you consistently operate in a powerful state of being and achieve the level of joy and career growth that you want amid all the changes in your workplace and in life? And so that leads us to the last thriving key, is that you can achieve the level of growth, career growth, you want without fearing the unknown by exercising a hidden power you readily have at your disposal. So here's a paradox with the unknown. We're afraid of it because our brain is designed to keep us safe. And it can't keep us safe if it doesn't have reference data to assess, that can draw on to assess the likely outcomes of what's going to happen next. Right? So it's constantly trying to get us to hold on to the known because it's more comfortable and it's safe. A spiritual leader, Anthony DeMello, once said, "We do not have a fear of the unknown. What we fear is actually giving up the known." Because when you think of it, it's so true, right? But here's the paradox. Everything that we want for our greatest joy, growth, and prosperity is actually in the unknown. Because as Neil Donald Walsh said, life begins at the end of our comfort zone. So then how do we make the unknown less scary for us so we can thrive in it and achieve the level of growth and success we want in our life and career? We do that through our beliefs, because our beliefs dictate our destiny. And here's why. From a behavioral psychology standpoint, we operate based on what my mentor, David Bayer, calls the 5 primary drivers. Our beliefs dictate what thoughts we have on a moment-by-moment basis. And those thoughts will trigger an emotional response within us called feelings. And based on how we feel, it will drive the actions that we take or don't take, right? Basically what we do. And based on our actions, it will yield the corresponding results in our life. And then those results will reinforce the original belief. And so we get stuck in this psycho-cybernetic loop of our own belief system. So for example, let's say you've been tasked with leading the rollout of a new case management system. But you have the belief that this will never work. So because you have that belief, the thoughts that you might have access to from that vantage point of your belief is that this project is too complex and it's creating more work for you and everyone. Okay? Or that you feel you don't have enough, you don't have the budget to get the system to work the way that you need it to, or that the organization needs it to for this project to be worthwhile. Right? Or that you'll never get the buy-in from key stakeholders or your project team. So because you're thinking all these thoughts, that these are the thoughts you have access to based on the belief that this will never work, what do you think the feelings that might generate from this would be? Okay. It's probably some form of frustration, doubt, overwhelm, or anxiety, right? And so because you are feeling this way, the actions that would likely follow would be you showing up to meetings, perhaps unprepared, disorganized, without a really clear plan, and a lack energy and enthusiasm to motivate and inspire support from others, right? And as a result, the project doesn't get delivered on time, exceeds budget, doesn't meet the organization's needs, and no one's happy. And so thus you're stuck in this psychocybernetic loop of things never working out, keeping you in stress, anxiety, frustration, and shame, right? All in the primal state. Okay. Is everyone with me so far?
Yes.
Okay. The great news is, as my mentor, David Bayer, discovered, we actually have the ability to change our beliefs at any time because beliefs are just decisions, okay? They're just decisions that you've made over and over again and produce the same results over and over again. And then it gets reinforced in your mind over and over again, right? And so remember what I said earlier about your brain being a goal achieving machine? So when you decide or believe something, it's going to go out there and find evidences in your external environment to align and match what you believe to reinforce it in your mind over and over again, right? That's how you get stuck in that psycho-cybernetic loop of your own belief system, okay? So instead, when you're experiencing something in your workplace or life or personal life that you don't prefer and it doesn't feel good, take a look at your underlying belief about that situation. What new empowering belief or decision you can make to change the outcome of that situation? And run it through that 5 primary driver I just shared with you. And you'll instantly move yourself back into a powerful state and start producing better outcomes for your career and life. So let's take our example from earlier. Okay, same example, you're tasked to lead the rollout of a new case management system. Only this time, the belief that you have is that this will elevate everyone's work experience, and you fully believe this. Okay? So based on this belief and from this new vantage point, what do you think the thoughts you would have access to based on this new belief? Any guesses?
I think first excitement.
Yeah? Elaborate more.
Well, just the fact that you're going into something that you believe is going to work and that you're going to become part of it. So
Yeah.
there's a set of, endorphins that go off and say, okay, I'm ready for this. I want it to work. I'm going to make it work. So
Yeah, great point, Bill. I'm ready for this. This is going to work. I'm going to make this work. I'm ready for this. Yeah, so somebody else said something?
Yeah, the passion for the subject matter that you're excited about, it gives you drive, and that drive will help you bring something to completion or maybe do it a little better.
Yes, exactly. Beautiful. Anyone else?
Hope.
Yeah. Yeah. Now
But
you guys are good. What was that, Jane?
I think like if you are excited or you're elevating it, then those around you will experience the same thing. And so because of that, the whole experience is uplifting for everyone.
Right. Right. Yes, you guys are getting the hang of this. Yeah, your answers were even better than some of the examples that I came up with, right? So you start to see all the possibilities, right? Again, what I mentioned earlier, right? You start to see solutions rather than problems, right? You start to see the benefits of this new system and what it could offer and the value and the impact that it would have, right? The increased visibility, efficiency, employee morale, and quality control. It becomes a win-win for everyone, right? And so because you have all of these great, positive, exciting thoughts, what do you think, how do you think you would feel in this scenario in leading this project? I think someone said earlier, excited, hopeful, of being hopeful, right? Any other guesses?
Encouraged?
Encouraged, yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah, so somewhere around like the enthusiasm, hopefulness, optimism, like eagerness, and encouraged, right? And so because you're feeling this way, what do you think the actions that you'll likely end up taking?
Positive actions.
Right, positive action. You'll probably show up to meetings more prepared, you're organized, you have a clear plan in place, and you're exuding, like what Jane mentioned earlier, right? You're exuding with energy and enthusiasm to motivate and inspire support from others, right? And so because of that, what do you think was going to result? Do you think the results will be the same or will be different?
It'll be successful.
It'll be what, I'm sorry?
The project will be successful.
Yes, the project would be successful, right? It's delivered on time, perhaps within budget, meets the organization's needs, and makes everyone's job easier, right? And so it reinforces that, yes, this will elevate everyone's work experience. Okay? So can you start to see the power of decision and how it can radically change how you operate and the outcomes you produce in life? Yeah? You start to see how all of this is kind of coming into play and how this can apply to your personal life and work?
I think it can go into everybody's life.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really simple but just really profound and powerful tool. So in conclusion, right, we all know that change is inevitable, right? Because life is ever evolving and there's a cycle that operates in a cycle, like how our planets revolve or orbit around the sun, right? The change of the seasons, right? The cycle of life and death, even our breath, right? Our breath is composed of a breath in and a breath out, right? Our technology and our relationships, right? It's always evolving. It's never going to stay the same. And so we have to evolve ourselves in order to keep up with the flow and evolution of life. Because otherwise, we become stagnant and then life pushes us into the unknown and forces us to operate outside of our comfort zone. And then we get stuck in the 3 fundamental fears that I just spoke about earlier. Okay? So one way or another, you're going to evolve. The question is, do you want to do it on your terms or on someone else's? Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith said, when you are stagnant and don't flow with our infinite expanded nature, we get pushed out of our stagnation and stumble to acclimate to our next level of expansion, such as health issues, getting laid off, relationship deterioration, debt accumulation, and other experiences in our life that we don't prefer and doesn't feel good, right? And which, by the way, I've experienced all of this here that you see on the screen here and much more. So if any of you have experienced this, don't feel bad. You're not alone, right? That was all me at one point. Or there's a better way, right? You can dissolve your fundamental fears and thrive through changes by what I shared with you, the 3 things earlier: having clarity, being in a powerful state, and exercise your power of decision so that you can have a thriving career and life you've always dreamed of, okay? Where you're surrounded by talents, amazing talents that you trust and appreciate at work. You're able to drive impactful change and in your organization, and your contributions are appreciated and recognized. Okay? And you also have the time, energy, and focus to have a thriving relationship with your family, okay? While still being able to rest, relax, and recharge as well. And all of that is not a pipe dream, but can be your living reality if you apply these 3 thriving strategies I just shared with you tonight. Okay? If you just give it a shot, I guarantee you'll be amazed at what unravels, and you'll probably start to wonder, like, where have I been all my life, right? Because these are the same exact strategies that I've applied in my life, and it's profoundly transformed my life. Because I went, like I shared earlier, I went from getting laid off with $150,000 in debt and literally being a signature away from divorce, to living debt-free, doing what I love today, and turning that failing marriage completely around to celebrate our 17th year anniversary just this past fall. And I know beyond a shadow of any doubt that each one of you here tonight can thrive through any changes and live your perfect life too, without any doubt. And so as we wrap up our time here tonight, I invite you to do a couple of things to help you move forward and thrive in your life and career, okay? The first is, this is my direct email. And I want each and every one of you here tonight to send me an email in the next 24 hours to share what your greatest takeaway was, or if you have more, feel free to share what they are as well. And what one inspired action you'll commit to taking in the next 30 days that will help you thrive going forward. Now, I don't care how big or small this action may be, right? Whether you're going to reflect on why you're here in this role with this organization, or become more aware of when you're in primal state so that you can do something about it and move yourself back in a powerful state, or if you are going to make a new empowering decision around a challenge that you've been facing at work or at home and change the outcomes of that situation, right? Whatever it is, I want you to share one inspired action you'll commit to taking in the next 30 days that's going to move you forward in a positive way, right? Because it's been proven that if you share with someone you're going to do something, the likelihood of you following through on that is very high. And I'd love to see each and every one of you to follow through on something that will progress you towards your success and happiness, okay? So can I get a thumbs up from you all if you're with me on this? Yeah? Everyone good? All right. And I'm gonna, yes, thank you. I'm gonna look forward to reading each and every one of your emails, okay? And lastly, because you all have just been absolutely amazing tonight, I want to share with you one other gift I have. Anyone here has an inner critic that keeps pushing them to do more, be more, and have more, but nothing ever seems to be enough? Does that ring a bell with anyone? Yes, no?
Yes, it does with me.
Yeah? Okay, I'm sorry. Was that Marcus or is that somebody else?
That's Marcus.
That's Marcus. Okay. Well, if that rings a bell with anyone, then the second thing that you'll love this is you can go to my website and then you can download a free copy of my recently released ebook about conquering your inner critic so that you can live with more joy, purpose, impact, and peace of mind. Okay? It's going to shed some light on your inner critic and radically help you transform your relationship with yourself so you can show up powerfully as a leader, a partner, and a parent. Okay? So everyone clear on the 2 call to actions I have
Yes.
for you? Awesome. Well, that's all I've got for you for now. You've all have been amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to now end my presentation and then we'll open up to any questions or feedback or comments that you might have, okay?
Okay.
All right. Any questions or comments from anyone? I see someone raising their hand, 2 actually. Is that MB and a TW?
The MB would be me.
Okay, Marcus, yes.
I think that raising my hand was in agreement to a question that you'd asked. So I raised my hand as me.
All right. Well, if you have any questions or comments, don't be shy. Feel free to unmute yourself, or if you're already unmuted, feel free to just ask your questions.
So, Jaquelynn, I'm not sure if you're comfortable or prepared or whatever to share with this, but I was wondering if you could share a personal example of one of your biggest breakthroughs applying some of these concepts that you're sharing.
Yes, absolutely. Great question. So one of my biggest breakthrough that was probably the pivotal moment that changed the trajectory of my life completely was actually during the time when I was, what I shared earlier, my rock bottom phase, right? I had just been laid off from Citigroup after being there for, 10 or 11 years. And had a debt of, it was like $150,000 debt looming over me. And literally my husband and I at that point, we were like literally a signature away from divorce. Like we had our divorce settlement all done, drawn up and everything. All that was left was just signing the settlement and we would have been divorced, right? But what changed was that, again, it's about that clarity, like being really clear on what is it that I want. Right? And really asking for, like for the first time ever, like I really sat myself down and really asked myself, like, what is it that I really want? Right? And it was in that question and in that pause, it created the space for me to really get clear on what is it that I want and what is it that I don't want. And it helped me, reminded me that, growing up, like I felt really confused and alone and forgotten and unloved, right? Because of my own parents divorcing about 36 or so years ago at that point, right? And then I was about to do the exact same thing to my son. And I knew that wasn't what I wanted my son to go through. And I knew instead that I needed to do something about this. I needed to break the cycle of my upbringing, right? And break this cycle of me being very oblivious to what I wanted, just kind of living life by default, because obviously it didn't serve me, right? It led me to this rock bottom phase here. And so I had to redefine everything that I knew. I had to be willing to let go of what I knew, what I was comfortable with, and redefine everything and really get clarity on what is the life that I want? What's the career that I want? And I literally made a list. I kid you not. I said, the next job that I want to be working in with a company or organization that the culture is more inclusive and cares about their employees. The management team really shows that they care about their employees, and they have all these great benefits. There's a kind of like my salary, my minimum salary. It's like I want to work for at least this amount. And so I was very descriptive, very clear on what I wanted. And because I got clear and created that clarity for myself, like I kid you not, it was probably about maybe less than it was probably a month or so afterwards, I was volunteering at an organization, a networking event. It was a coaching organization that I was passionate about. I was helping to put on a fundraiser event there and met someone. And 2 weeks later, she emailed me out of the blue and asked me, said, "Hey, Jaquelynn, Quest Diagnostics is setting up a HR service center from ground zero, and we could really use someone with your expertise from Citigroup. Would you be interested?" Now, you have to understand that up until that point, like prior to that, I had spent 6 months chained to my laptop, applying to hundreds of jobs because I was desperate to get back out of there, out in the market, right? Because again, it was just like, oh my gosh, who am I if I'm not working, right? That sense of identity, right? And 6 months, absolutely crickets, like not even a rejection letter, like nothing. Right? Now, all of a sudden, out of the blue, someone emails me. And so I just, out of courtesy, responded back to them. And then boom, boom, boom. In less than 2 weeks, I literally have the offer in hand. And when I looked back, the offer literally matches everything that I said I would be willing to go back to work for a company with these criterias. And literally, it met everything. It actually even paid more for what I was making before when I got laid off, and a better environment, great culture, management team was fantastic. In fact, I'm still like best friends with my manager from back then today. And so that's the power of clarity and just really being willing to let go of the known, right? And allowing the flow of life to guide you, and letting go of that resistance and letting the flow of life to just guide you in your next direction and thrive through all of these changes that was happening in my life. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that was great. I appreciate that. Definitely can feel the passion exuding from you on that answer there. That was very good. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you for asking.
So you probably know I'm going to do this, Jaquelynn, but
sure, Bill.
Just because I am going to do it. Number one, your presentation was awesome. The cadence, the pace, the involvement, everything, the simplicity, and it really described really good methodologies and ways for people to embrace what you're trying to teach here. I'd just like to share with the group, when I first met Jaquelynn, it was one of those, no, this person's just too good to be true. You know, nobody is this syrupy, sweet, nice, and always positive and everything else. But I got to tell you, she is. A couple of other fun facts. English is Jaquelynn's second language. She was born, and you don't mind me sharing this, right?
No, go ahead, Bill.
Born in Vietnam, and you know, I'm a very sarcastic individual, and I pride myself in teaching Jaquelynn or trying to mentor her on her level of sarcasm, and she's done very well. She brings a tear to my eye, but she is the real deal, and I would encourage anybody who had the opportunity to take part in what she's trying to do here, and wish her continued success. So great job, JP.
Thank you so much, Bill. That was so lovely. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there can anybody in the audience maybe share an example of, you know, maybe not at a personal level, somebody's not ready to share, but even professionally, like going through a big change initiative and how some of this stuff could maybe have helped, or maybe what some of it was implemented, or the two different approaches that you talked about. I remember at one company that I was at years ago, a new CEO came in and passed out copies of what's the name of that book? Our Iceberg is Melting. I'm not sure if you've read that or not, by Cotter. But anyhow, it's about change management and, you know, different steps to kind of implement to more of a technical type of thing as opposed to, you know, different phases. But
I don't mean to hog all the time here, but I'll give you a perfect example. I was 58 years old. I had been laid off from a company that I had worked for 10 years. They had recruited me down here in Florida, and I didn't know which way to turn. And all of a sudden, unlike Jacquelynn, I had a lot of response. There was a lot of activity. Um, I actually ended up accepting a job with a company, but I had also gotten involved with the company J&J, and it was kind of like a dream job. They had pulled together this micro team, Jacquelynn, myself, and three other people, and we're all from different backgrounds and diversities, and it seemed like really just the ultimate way to land on our feet. Well, halfway through our tenure there was a shifting of political power, uh, for lack of a better term. And 18 months later, we were gone. The whole team was dissolved. Our special time was taken away, so to speak. Um, Only through my ability to look past that and see all the positive things that I could bring to an organization or to a position was I able to move forward at now, what was it, 62 years old, 61 years old, and and land another position and be a viable contributor. And I try to practice it every day. I try to realize my self-worth, what I bring to the table, not only for myself but for the company and for the people I work with. And two of the things that Tico is really adamant about is their safety. Safety is job one. It's been drilled into my head like you wouldn't believe. It's drilled into everybody's head there. And also their carbon footprint. They are trying to be responsible um, purveyors of power, for lack of a better term, and get their carbon footprint down less and less and less and less through solar power, through wind power, through all different types of technology and whatnot. So I embrace those things, and that gives me another reason why I want to work for Tico. I want to make it better. I want to be part of that solution. So by being positive in that thought process, it allows me to do that and act hopefully in my top, maybe low 90 percentile, and only feel negative, maybe that 8 to 5% of the time. So it does work. And I'm going to shut up now.
Oh, Bill, yeah, thank you. That's a beautiful share. You actually bring a tear. It's my turn. You bring a tear to my eyes too, because when we first met, like you said, you found me like my positivity was just so annoying. Just like, oh my gosh, will you? That's enough, right? But like over years, I must have rubbed off on you, Bill. As much as you try to deny it, right? But yeah, you're right. It's the power of positivity, like the mindset behind things, because really 80% of everything that we do is mindset. I know a lot of people focus a lot of attention on the strategy, like learning the strategy and implementing strategies, right? Which are great. Their strategies actually there's some that move us forward. But if we don't have the right mindset, implementing the best strategies still won't yield us the best results. And the testament that Bill said, and to elaborate on that, of all of our team that was laid off during that time, Bill was actually the first person to get back on his feet and secure another job. I think within like a month of our notice, Bill. It was actually quite impressive, and yet there were still other members of our team that were still struggling through that, way beyond after everyone was all acclimated in their new jobs and the new directions and everything. So really, really well done, Bill. Just really kudos for that. And you make me so proud, and it's a tear in my eyes. Anybody else have any questions or comments or share? Where are these? Have you heard of these concepts before? Is this a different way, a different angle, a different way? And How did it land with you? And how are you feeling? Are you feeling just like maybe this is just too, too good to be true? How's everybody feeling? Yes.
Hi, Jacqueline.
Yes.
My name's Liz. That was a great presentation, and I think it does reinforce a lot that I've heard, but it is from like a different angles, but you're able to kind of put, things together. So I like that. One thing that I'm curious to hear from you is from working with people and maybe some research you've done is why is it so hard for people to figure out what they want? Because like what you're saying, it's really easy to, nitpick and pick out the bad things in your partner, but then, you know, and just like, when it's like, well, what do you want for dinner? And it's like, well, I don't know. I know I don't want this or that, but I don't know what I want. Like, why is it so hard?
Oh, that's a great question, and actually that's a really great scenario as well. Because yeah, my husband has the same thing. Every time he asks me like what I want for dinner, if we're ordering out, because I love to cook, but on days when I don't want to cook, I mean it's probably an hour-long conversation. Like I don't know, right? I can tell you what I don't want, right? But yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry, what was your name? You said it was Les?
Liz.
Liz, great question, Liz. Thank you for asking that. And it all has to do with going back a little bit about what I shared. And I know I'm just, kind of scratching the tip of the iceberg here. It's because our brain is designed to keep us safe, right? It's designed mostly for survival. It's not designed for thriving, right? So it's always kind of keeping us safe of kind of like letting us know and zoning in on what we don't want or what is dangerous or what we don't prefer, so that we can kind of be on alert and kind of keep ourselves safe and not experience those things again, so to speak, right? And so it's always about, because our brain is wired for survival and not thriving. And so that's why I said it's a muscle that we have to work, and we have to consciously train our brain, because back then it served us well when we're in like the caveman days, right? When it's helping us with survival skills and everything, right? And just the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Back then when it's just really low. But now that we've evolved as a species, a human species, right? We're now focusing more on thriving. And so we have to consciously train our brain for thriving. And it's just like, okay, be aware of the things that we don't want, right? Because those create the contrast and gives us more awareness of what it is that we do want instead, right? It helps us to refine what we, in knowing that what we don't want, it highlights what we do want instead. Does that make sense, Liz?
It does. Thank you.
Right. And so we're constantly having to train our brain that way, because we're just wired that way for survival from the beginning of time. Right. And so the work, really, the inner work that needs to be done is really retraining the way that we think, the way that we operate, and breaking that cycle of kind of like default knee-jerk reactions. Does that help answer your question, Liz?
It does. Thanks.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking.
So going along with that, just kind of piggyback on that a little bit. Gotta ask you about resources. So shifting our mindset, a lot of it has to do with like the people that we surround ourselves with, self-talk, as well as things that we, listen to, podcasts or books that we read. So obviously, first thing that we start with is from critic to champion. But do you have anything else that you would suggest as maybe a couple of good titles that you found that have been really helpful and kind of shaping our thinking along these lines?
Yeah, a book that is really good is actually The Power of Decision by Charles something Baker. I might be butchering his name, but it's called The Power of Decision. Right? If you're into that, so that's a really good book. Another one is Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell. Actually, let me see if I have that book. Maxwell Maltz. Yeah, Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz. And Oh, I think I lent someone my Power of Decision book. Yeah, so those two books are really great about mindset, especially the Power of Decision one. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, is also another one, which that, it's really mind blowing and impressive because back then he was just so ahead of his time, right? So that book was, gosh, I can't remember, that was way, way back then, but he still, the concepts that he talks about, we still reference today in terms of mindset and the evolution of our human species and the way that we think and we operate. So those are the three books that I would recommend.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions or comments from anyone?
I really liked your presentation, Jaquelynn. This is Jane, and really thankful that you were here with us today. One thing that really stood out with me was the impacts of not necessarily keeping a joyful spirit. Like for instance, health. How health can be impacted so much by negativity or stress or anxiety is such a big piece of it. And I have a verse that I always kind of treasure, and it's from Proverbs, and it says, "A joyful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bones."
Oh,
And
yeah.
I always think about that the joyfulness is key to good health. So
Yes.
I see your presentation today as definitely medicine for good health.
Oh, thank you,
Thank you.
Jane. Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You hit on a really great point, Jane. And it's there's more and more emphasis today talking about tying mindset to health, right? Because really, and why that is because our bodies are really there's a system of intelligence about our body. I mean, really, it's amazing when you stop to think about our body, everything about our body and the different ways that we function, right? And it has the ability to actually heal itself because we generate new cells within ourselves all the time, right? And so it has the ability to heal ourselves. But what happens is that we introduce interference into the natural flow of health and well-being of our body, right? Through stress, through anxiety, through being in the primal state, right? And it interrupts that flow of life, the flow of intelligence and life within our bodies. And that's where we create we talk about disease, it's dis-ease in our body. Right? So that's the correlation where it's a mindset where a lot of people, when they're struggling with health, by doing this work, I'm meeting and knowing more and more people who have healed themselves from life-threatening diagnosis, like stage 4 breast cancers and whatnot. And you talk about Dr. Joe Dispenza. He talks about this all the time, right? And it's really mind-blowing when you really think of it, is how your mind can affect all aspects of your life, your health, your relationships, your careers, and your quality of life and everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You've been a delight.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. So I'll look forward to receiving and reading each and every one of your emails. So make sure within 24 hours, make sure to send me an email. I will personally read every single one and respond to each one of you. So don't think I'm just throwing it out there and not really honoring it. Yes, I'll look forward to reading all of your emails, because I want to make sure you guys are taking this information. It's not just another presentation. You're like, oh, this is nice information, and then it just kind of gets, stashed in some kind of note piles and whatnot, right? I want you to start applying some of this and really be consciously training your brain for thriving moving forward. Okay.
All right. Well, I love it. Jaquelynn, as you know, you and I could be on the phone for an hour, and you could probably do the same thing with everyone else. But it's good to allow everyone else to participate and just get the feedback and hear it. I don't want to take up another hour by making my contribution. But I'll certainly, put my greatest takeaway in the email for certain.
Fantastic. I look forward to it.
This was very good because we wanted to know how it would apply to the individuals in the different fields, right? All of us do something different along the supply chain, and this is about being the person, not particularly what you do, but how you approach what you do and how you think of yourself. I'm always coaching myself while I'm driving. There's my 25% of the day. By the time I'm taking an hour drive to work and an hour back, I'm coaching myself about what the hell am I doing. So, and maybe as I arrive in the parking lot, but this helps us. It's not about your work. It's about who you are and how you approach your work. And do you really believe in what you're doing? So I love it. I'm glad I was very happy with the presentation. And I'm sure everyone else is. Looks like we have very good feedback and engagement.
Now, Marcus, we were going to do a raffle, correct?
Yeah, not certain how that's going to work. For me to conduct it.
Amelia?
Yeah, is there anyone on the meeting who brought a friend today to the meeting who is not an APICS member, ASCM member?
Just drop it in the chat. Somebody that you brought. We were going to do a raffle for anybody that was able to drag a guest along, trying to encourage folks to get out of their chair and get plugged in and be overachievers like everybody on the call here.
Yeah,
Get
so
plugged in.
For future meetings this year, if any of you who are an ASCM member and you bring a friend who is not a member, who has never attended a meeting, you will be put into a drawing for a $25 Visa gift card. And if you brought one tonight, you would be the only one, so you would have won by the process of elimination. So just a reminder for future meetings.
I was waiting to see somebody pop up after that incentive.
I can go get my wife. Hold on just a second.
Well, I love it. Are there any other announcements before I make my final announcement from our board? Steve, you have any ASCM?
Thank you, Marcus. We covered a couple of things in the networking time on the ASCM announcements, but just want to give a huge thank you to our speaker, Jaquelynn. Obviously, thank you so much for taking out the time and sharing some of your, 18 years plus of experience in personal growth, and looking forward to applying these things and even sharing them with our friends and loved ones to be able to really kind of be mindful of where we're at and things, and striving for what we want and not just trying to avoid what we're doing. So really looking forward to connecting with you on that. And thank you, Marcus, for organizing the event, coordinating that. Really appreciate that. Amelia from marketing, our VP of marketing, thank you for all that you do with the website, sending out the communications. Really appreciate that. Jane,
looks very good.
2 hours we spent at the bank getting the bank changed over for our chapter. Thank you. James Moore with the career services. Michelle, I see that you're on as a director at large. Hope to see you get back involved. Congratulations on your recent wedding. I haven't heard about how it is, but thank you, everybody. That Tim Duncan, our career services manager, I know he's working on some things to connect with members. Just huge thank you to all of our volunteers for making these events possible. And thank you, everybody, for taking out the time and coming out and investing in yourself and inviting others as well. So
I like how you put that, investing in yourself, because that's what this is about. I did want to ask if James had any news for the career services. Did you have an announcement that you wanted to make?
Hello, everyone. This is James Moore, the Career Services Director for ASCM Florida. We do have a webinar upcoming on resumes. However, it has not been scheduled yet. So just keep your eyes open for the Career Services Bulletin or the forum newsletter, and it will be announced soon. I'm getting used to saying forum, guys. Work with me here.
Yes. Yes. And I see it all up on the website and everywhere. So we'll get it. You know, we'll switch over to forum. I was writing something today and I took Apex off of it and put ASCM because I want to just train myself to start using ASCM. Even though Apex is relevant, we have to change still, like the way we think. Our next meeting will be as scheduled. Looks like, because we always do this the first Tuesday of each month. It will be on May 4th and begin at 6 p.m. But keep your eyes open for the newsletter. I don't have anything scheduled right this moment, but we will have something soon. I'm working on a couple of angles to see what we can get. So please be on the lookout for the newsletter. If there are any other announcements before we close out?
I was on mute. One last thing real quick, Marcus. Just again, our ballot is going to be going out for the officers for the 2021-2022 year. I noticed that there's a few folks that are on that have been on several of the PDMs. If you're looking at, if you'd like to consider possibly becoming a volunteer and helping to work the magic behind the scenes with our outstanding board, please shoot an email to at the website. You can go to the contact us and info@apextampabay.com or .org, and you can connect with us or just send me a personal email or any of the board members. That'd be greatly appreciated. There are a couple of openings that are available, and even if there's not, we'll make room for you as a director at large, so we can work together on building a better forum. So look for that in the email coming up soon. Call for volunteers.
Very good. And so if there are no other announcements, I will close the meeting at 7:50. Jane, I saw you pop up.
I just wanted to wave hi and bye to everybody.
All right. Everyone have a good Tuesday night.
Thank you, everyone.
Hi,
Have a
Ray.
great rest of the
Thanks,
evening.
Bye.
Care.
Thanks, everybody.
Hi, thank you all.
Thanks, Jaquelynn.
My pleasure.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Right.